at motor1.com. We do have some more Mazda news to talk about, though, Bruce.
We do. Yeah. I
electric Mazda news.
Electrified.
Sort of. Electrified and rotary. Ooh, everybody's excited for a new RX-7. We're going to have a rotary hybrid RX-7. No, we're not.
No, we're not. So this comes from the motor1.com German edition. Our coworker Roland Hildebrandt, he originally came up with this piece. I translated it. And apparently at the Brussels Motor Show on January 13th, 2023, which is what, six
weeks away?
7 weeks, something like
2023 is almost here, man.
Yeah. Mazda will debut the rotary. How can I say this? They will debut a version of the MX-30, which is their electric crossover, with a rotary engine range extender. And let me be super, super specific. This is not a rotary powered version. This is not a hybrid like you would think of, like the Prius we were talking about last week, or other vehicles like that. The rotary will run at a constant RPM, and it will act solely to charge the battery. And then that will obviously give power to the electric motor, and that'll let the vehicle go. And we've been hearing about this vehicle. As I wrote about it in the story, it was first rumored in early 2020. It was officially announced in late 2020. And now we are finally seeing the fruits of all those that work. So no, this is not a rotary powered MX-30. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at things. This is its own separate thing. And
you're struggling with this, what I can tell.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I have to be, because one of the main things, and you sold your Mazda 6, right? You are no longer a Mazda owner?
Correct. I sold the Mazda 6 in South Dakota before moving to Michigan. I am still looking for a car that I'm going to give you an update later on.
Very good.
But I am a Mazda fan.
Right.
I was never a huge rotary fan. Never a huge rotary fan. I never really got the rotary. Other than, okay, it's a smaller engine. It can be mounted lower down, gives you better performance, weight distribution, that sort of thing. But it's a smooth running engine, but to me, it seemed like the negatives outweighed the positives, right?
It always depends on, what you need and what you're going to do with it. It's the rotary. It's physically small, but it's also very thirsty in terms of what an engine is. Like,
yes,
the rotary is it's a weird engine. They came up with, an interesting solution. And as Roland pointed out in the story, Mazda licensed this technology from NSU, and they developed it themselves, and they've kind of continued developing it. And we've ran stories for years now how there's been this small team within Mazda who are working on the rotary engine and who they're going to bring it back. And it seems like it's finally going to happen. And I'm still really worried that whether this is the right solution. And the reason that I'm worried is that, the current MX-30, it has a 35.5 kilowatt hour battery, and that provides in the United States 100 miles of range.
That's like GM EV1 range.
Yeah.
Which I think was like 85 or 90 miles way back in the day. So yeah, I mean, that was one of the big criticisms of the MX-30 was that, okay, I mean, it seems pretty nice otherwise. It just doesn't, it needs more battery. It needs more range, right? So here we have a rotary option, which, to your point, Bruce, maybe this is a better application because you're going to have a small compact engine that runs extremely smoothly.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Do we know the size of the rotary?
Nope.
I don't think that's available yet. So, I mean, if it's just a small rotary working as a generator, powering the battery pack, I mean, if it's muffled down, it might make little to no sound. this with the smoothness of a rotary. It might be ideal as a range extender, but I guess my question is, okay, how much noise is it going to make?
We don't know.
And how much juice is it going to give the battery? And then how much fuel is it going to drink? Because
we don't know.
If you end up with, you know, having to fill up the tank on a regular basis, what's the difference? You know, what's the benefit of having an EV then, right? So there's still a lot we don't know.
No, we also don't know how much it weighs. And so therefore, another issue with the MX-30 is that its electric motor currently has 144 horsepower, 200 pound-feet of torque. It takes 9.6 seconds to get 0 to 60, which, you know, I am not saying that every vehicle should be a sports car and be like the Batista and get to 0 to 60 in sub 2 seconds. 9.6 seconds in the modern world, I feel like, is struggling to keep up when merging onto highway traffic. That's purely my opinion, and I'll admit that. But it's certainly on the higher end of things. And it's already not that quick of a vehicle, and now you are saddling it with an internal combustion engine, a fuel tank for that engine, a cooling system for that engine, and all of the relevant accessories and things like that. And we don't know whether or not they are, it's possible that having this extra juice from the range extender, maybe it's possible, that they could increase the power from the motor and, kind of offset that. But we don't know. And if they don't do that, then you've essentially added more weight, more complexity, more stuff to break, more everything on a vehicle that already seems compromised.
You make some valid points. I mean, my counterpoint, I guess, would be smoothness of the engine. The compact size of the engine.
That's the advantage of a rotary.
This could be, I mean, provided that the benefits are outweighing the consequences here. If it's pretty frugal on fuel, and they can keep weight to a minimum, and I mean, if they can bump this up to where you can go 250 miles or so at a time. I mean, there's a lot we don't know. I guess at this point I would just have to say to be continued. But it's interesting. And I mean, if you're a fan of the rotary, it is back. At least it's back in some form, right? How long before somebody gets one of these just to yank the rotary out and rotary swap a Mazda 3 or something, right?
Or just like takes, 10 years time, these are in junkyard somewhere. You pull out the rotary range extender and you throw it in a go-kart, and you've got, your little rotary go-kart that, if it makes 30 horsepower. I don't know. I'm literally making that number off.
It says something about the situation that we're already thinking like long term when we can yank the rotary out and put it into something else. Let's give the MX-30 with the range extender a chance to survive here first.
You're right.
And I'm very interested to see how this shakes out. Hopefully we'll have more information in early January when it debuts.
Exactly. We'll see it. The other thing is, thank you for mentioning that, we don't know whether the range extended version will come to the United States. I wrote up this story. A U.S. Exec, I believe it was in 2021, a U.S. exec said that they would like to have it here, but who knows? That's been a year ago, and then plus by the time it enters production and things like that, who knows what's going to happen. So it's possible the one with the rotary range extender never even comes to the United States. We don't know.
Could be to be continued.
It's an interesting vehicle. It's a compelling vehicle. It's something I want to know more about, but until we get to January and we actually get specs and ranges and US availability and stuff like that, we kind of can just speculate about it right now, unfortunately.
So stay tuned. We'll have more to come. Of course, we'll talk about it when it comes out.